Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. Let's begin by simply acknowledging where you are right now. Perhaps you're lying in bed, the weight of the day finally releasing its grip. Maybe you're sitting in a quiet corner of your home, a warm cup of tea growing cold beside you. Or perhaps you're on a commute, the world a blur outside the window. Wherever you are, you have arrived. You are here, in this present moment, and that is the only place where true peace can be found. Have you ever noticed how your mind seems to have a mind of its own? You sit down to relax, and suddenly you're replaying an argument from 5 years ago. You're trying to fall asleep, and your brain decides it's the perfect time to worry about tomorrow. We spend so much of our lives being pulled in different directions by our own thoughts. It's exhausting. It's like our mind has a favorite playground, and that playground is filled with negative emotions like anger, jealousy, resentment, and anxiety. The nature of this untrained mind is fascinating, isn't it? It's like a magnet for metal filings, but the metal it's attracted to are thoughts of worry and regret. It seeks them out, dwells on them, and builds entire storylines around them. We find ourselves lost in these narratives, feeling real pain from a movie playing on the screen of our consciousness. So how do we gain the remote control? How do we change the channel? This is not a new problem. For over 2,500 years, people have been grappling with this same wild mind. One of the most profound maps for this inner terrain was laid out by a teacher we call the Buddha. He wasn't a god. He was a human being who looked deeply into his own mind and discovered its mechanics. He left behind a detailed instruction manual, and within it, a gradual training for dealing with those uninvited guests, our negative thoughts. Before we can explore these techniques, there is one foundational skill we must cultivate. Think of it as the soil in which the seeds of these methods can grow. That skill is awareness. Let me share a story. Years ago, I was walking through a busy city market. The smells of spices, the sounds of vendors, the jostle of the crowd. In the middle of all this, I noticed a small child sitting on his father's shoulders. He had a bright red balloon tied to his wrist, and he was completely captivated by it. He wasn't looking at the market or the people. His entire world was that red balloon. He would pull it down, look at it, then let it go and watch it bob above his head. His focus was absolute. Our awareness of our thoughts needs to be like that child's focus on his balloon. But instead of focusing on the thought, we need to become aware that we are thinking. Most of the time, we are the child, but we are so lost in the balloon that we forget we are even holding the string. We become the anger. We become the anxiety. We are so immersed in the thought movie that we forget we are the one watching it. Awareness is the act of remembering the string. It's the quiet inner voice that says, here is a feeling of anger. It's not engaging with the anger or pushing it away. It's simply noticing it. This simple act creates a tiny space between you, the observer, and the thought, the object. In that space, your freedom begins. You cannot control what you are not even aware of. A captain cannot steer a ship if he doesn't know it's drifting. Now, with awareness as our foundation, we can look at the first method. The Buddha was a master of psychology, and his first piece of advice is beautifully simple. He says, when you become aware that your mind is wallowing in a negative thought, gently shift your attention to something wholesome. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a garden. You notice a patch of weeds starting to sprout. The least effortful solution isn't to grab chemicals and nuke the weeds. The wisest thing is to turn your attention to the flowers you do want to grow. You water them, you give them sunlight. A healthy, thriving flower bed naturally crowds out the weeds. It's the same with the mind. You can't fight a negative thought with force, because fighting it gives it your energy. But you can gently redirect that energy. I once knew a woman who was a professional pianist. Before her most important concert, she was plagued by a recurring thought. Every time she sat to practice, a voice would whisper, "You're going to forget the melody. It's going to be a disaster." This thought grew and grew. Her teacher gave her simple advice. He said, "Don't try to silence the voice. When it comes, acknowledge it. Then immediately put all your attention on the first few notes of that movement. Play them with love." She did this. Whenever the thought appeared, she poured her awareness into the beauty of the music itself. By the time the concert arrived, the thought had withered from neglect. Her mind was so filled with the wholesome focus on the music that there was no room left for fear. If you are finding value in these teachings, please consider subscribing to Monk's Moon Temple. It helps create a community of like-minded individuals seeking peace and clarity. Just click the button below. Thank you. So the first step is this conscious shift. When you feel the pull of a negative thought, have wholesome thoughts ready. Think of a time you showed kindness. Think of a beautiful sunset. Think of someone you love. You are not running from the negative, you are simply choosing to nurture the positive. In doing so, you create a mind that is less fertile ground for the weeds. Now, what happens when that first step doesn't quite work? What if the thought is particularly sticky? What if the weed has deep roots? The Buddha, in his profound wisdom, didn't offer a one-size-fits-all solution. He gave us a toolkit. If the first tool doesn't do the job, we reach for the next one. The second tool is the contemplation of danger. This is a powerful psychological technique. It's about moving from being passively carried away by a thought to actively analyzing its consequences. Let's use anger as an example, since it's such a universal and destructive force. The Buddha doesn't simply say, "Don't be angry." He invites you to look closely at the anger itself. He asks you to investigate. If I nurture this thought, where will it lead? Imagine you are holding a burning rope. The first instinct might be to hold it tighter, to shake it, to get angry at the rope for burning you. But the wise person immediately sees the danger. They see that holding on to this burning rope will only cause them more pain. The only logical thing to do is to let it go. Negative thoughts are like that burning rope. They might feel powerful or justified, but if we look closely, holding on to them is an act of self-harm. Let me tell you a story about a man named Thomas. Thomas was a successful architect. He had a rival named David who always seemed to get the projects Thomas wanted. One day, David was awarded a massive, prestigious contract that Thomas had spent months preparing for. Thomas was consumed by a corrosive jealousy. At first, he tried step 1. He tried to think wholesome thoughts. His loving family, his beautiful home. But the jealousy was too strong. It was a dark cloud that followed him everywhere. He would lie awake at night, constructing scenarios where David's project failed. He was feeding the fire of his own resentment, and it was burning him up inside. Then, one sleepless night, he decided to truly apply step 2. He sat up in bed and began to consciously examine the thought of jealousy. He didn't try to push it away. Instead, he looked at it like a scientist. He asked himself, what is this thought doing to my body? He noticed the tension in his jaw, the clenching in his stomach, the shallow breathing. What is it doing to my peace of mind? He saw that it had stolen his sleep, his appetite, his ability to find joy in his own work. If I let this thought guide my actions, he continued, what would happen? He imagined himself sabotaging David's project. He imagined the guilt, the shame, the destruction of his own reputation. He saw, with absolute clarity, that holding on to this jealousy was like drinking poison and expecting David to die. He was the one suffering. He was the one losing sleep. The danger became so vivid, so undeniable, that the urge to hold on to the thought began to loosen its grip. He saw the burning rope for what it was, and his hand, quite naturally, began to open. This is the power of the second step. It's not about moralizing. It's not about saying anger is bad. It's about seeing for yourself, in a very direct way, that anger, jealousy, and resentment are painful. They are a disturbance to your own well-being. When you truly see the disadvantages, the loss of peace, the physical tension, the potential for destructive action, the mind, which is fundamentally seeking happiness and freedom from pain, will naturally start to recoil from these thoughts. But what if the thought persists? What if, even after seeing its danger, it still lingers in the corner of your mind? For this, the Buddha offers a third method, the art of deliberate neglect, or paying no mind. This is a fascinating concept because it goes against our usual instinct. When an unwanted thought appears, we try to argue with it. No, I'm not jealous. This thought is wrong. But what happens when you argue with someone? You give them your attention. The argument keeps them in the room. The Buddha suggests a different tactic: simply stop serving the thought tea. Stop inviting it to sit down. Have you ever been in a situation where someone is trying to get your attention, maybe a child having a minor tantrum? What's the most effective way to handle it if it's truly unfounded? You don't engage. You don't make eye contact. Eventually, the performance stops because it has lost its audience. Our thoughts are exactly like that. They thrive on our attention. The moment we withdraw our attention, the show closes. Let me share a story about a man named Arthur. Arthur was a collector of vintage watches. He had a friend, Bernard, who was also a collector. One day at an auction, they both bid on a rare pocket watch. Bernard won. Arthur was immediately flooded with resentment. He began to think Bernard had only bid to spite him. This thought gnawed at him for days. He tried step 1, thinking of his own wonderful collection. It didn't work. He tried step 2, contemplating the danger. He saw it was making him bitter, but the thought still lingered. So he tried step 3. Whenever the image of Bernard appeared, he didn't engage. He didn't follow the story. He simply said to himself, thinking, and gently brought his attention back to the ticking of one of his own beloved watches. He didn't fight the thought, he just stopped feeding it. At first, it was difficult. The thought kept knocking, like a persistent salesman. But Arthur was simply not answering the door. After a few days, the knocking became less frequent. It became fainter. Eventually, it stopped altogether. The thought was still a memory, but it was no longer a living resentment. By paying it no mind, he had let it die of starvation. This technique is incredibly powerful for dealing with repetitive, nagging thoughts. It's the mental equivalent of not feeding a stray cat. If you stop leaving food out, it will eventually go find another porch to sit on. However, there are times when even neglect isn't enough. The thoughts can be like a runaway train, gaining speed and momentum. For such intensely distracted states, the Buddha offers a fourth method, the deliberate relaxing of the thought formation. This is about actively calming the mind's activity, smoothing out the rough, choppy waves of thought. Imagine your mind is like a pot of muddy water. When you are caught in a storm of negative thoughts, it's as if someone is constantly stirring the pot. The water is murky and churning. The fourth step is the act of stopping the stirring. You put down the spoon. You let the pot sit undisturbed. The mud slowly begins to settle. The water becomes clearer. The agitation subsides on its own. How do we do this mentally? We can't just command our thoughts to stop. But we can shift our attention to thoughts that have a naturally calming quality. The Buddha often pointed to thoughts of loving kindness, compassion, and gratefulness. These are powerful mental states that have a direct physiological effect. They are like a gentle breeze that calms a turbulent sea. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Sarah, a trauma surgeon in a busy city hospital. Her days were filled with chaos and high-stakes decisions. At night, she would lie in bed, her mind still racing, replaying surgeries, worrying about patients. It was a mental storm. She tried step 1, shifting to a happy memory, but the storm was too strong. She tried step 2, seeing the danger of this exhaustion, but that just added another layer of worry. She tried step 3, paying no mind, but the thoughts were too loud to ignore. One evening, feeling utterly depleted, she sat in her quiet living room. She remembered a teaching about loving kindness. She started by bringing to mind the feeling of holding her newborn niece for the first time. A feeling of pure, unconditional warmth. She focused on that feeling, letting it fill her chest. Then, she gently directed that same feeling towards herself. May I be peaceful. May I be free from this mental anguish. She repeated these phrases while evoking the genuine feeling behind them. At first, the anxious thoughts were still there, shouting in the background. But she kept her attention on the feeling of loving kindness, like a small, warm flame in a windy cave. Gradually, the wind began to die down. The flame grew steadier. The anxious thoughts, while still present, were no longer the dominant force. They were receding. The mental storm was being calmed not by force, but by the introduction of a deeply relaxing mental state. Her thought process, which had been rough and jagged, became soft and subtle. The mud began to settle. This fourth step is a profound act of self-compassion. You are not fighting the storm, you are changing the weather pattern. Finally, we arrive at the fifth method. This is the most direct, the most forceful, and the one that requires the most care and skill. The Buddha compared it to a strong man pinning down a weaker man. It is the act of subduing the negative thought with the power of awareness and determined intention. Imagine a wild stallion. You've tried coaxing it with sugar cubes, you've shown it the dangers of the cliff edge, you've ignored its bucking, and you've tried to calm it with a soothing voice. But it's still a danger. The only thing left is to skillfully and firmly bring it under control. You must use your focused awareness to master it. In the mind, This means meeting a particularly stubborn, unwholesome thought with a direct and forceful mental command. This is not a technique for beginners. If you try to use force on a thought without the foundation of the previous steps, you risk creating an internal civil war. You will be fighting with your own mind, and that fight only creates more tension. The thought you try to suppress will often just burrow deeper or come back with renewed strength. But for the experienced practitioner who has cultivated strong mindfulness, this method can be a powerful last resort. You are sitting in meditation, and a deeply ingrained, unwholesome thought pattern arises. Perhaps it's a recurring fantasy of revenge that persists with compulsive energy. With a mind that is steady and collected, you bring all your awareness to bear on that thought. You look at it with such intense, focused clarity that it simply cannot stand. It's like turning a high-powered light onto a shadow. The shadow doesn't fight back, it just vanishes. I remember a young monk, let's call him Ananda, who was struggling with a powerful wave of restlessness during his meditation. He had tried all the other methods. He shifted his focus to his breath. He contemplated the disadvantages of restlessness. He tried to pay it no mind. He tried to relax his mind with loving kindness. But the restlessness was like an itch he couldn't scratch, a physical agitation in his bones. It was overwhelming. Finally, with deep resolve, he decided on a firmer approach. He sat up straighter. He fixed his attention on the feeling of restlessness itself, not with aversion, but with laser-like focus. He mentally said to himself with great determination, "I will not allow this mind to be swept away by you. I see you clearly. You are just a conditioned state, a wave of energy. You have no power over me except the power I give you. And I am withdrawing that power, right now." He held this intention with unwavering firmness. It wasn't a battle of anger against restlessness, it was the immovable stability of a mountain meeting a passing cloud. The cloud had no choice but to move on. The restlessness, confronted by such determined, non-reactive awareness, simply dissolved. This fifth step is the assertion of your ultimate sovereignty over your own mind. It is the confident declaration that you are the master, not the slave, of your thoughts. But it is a mastery born of understanding and gradual training, not of brute force and repression. So these are the 5 tools. A gradual training, a complete toolkit for the mind. Shift to the wholesome. See the danger. Pay no mind. Relax the thought formation. Subdue with awareness. They are not a linear checklist that you must always follow in order. Sometimes a small thought of annoyance can be dealt with by simply paying it no mind. Other times, a powerful wave of grief might first require the gentle relaxation of loving kindness before you can even begin to see its danger. You learn, through practice, which tool is appropriate for which job. You become a skilled carpenter of your own consciousness. I want to share another story now, a longer one, that weaves these principles together. This is about a fisherman I once met on a remote coast. His name was Elias. Elias had lived his whole life by the sea. He knew its moods, its tides, its hidden currents. He told me that when he was a young man, he was filled with burning ambition. He wanted the biggest boat, the most advanced nets, the largest catch. He was constantly comparing himself to other fishermen, consumed by envy for those who were more successful, and filled with contempt for those who were less so. His mind was a storm of negative thoughts, and he brought that storm with him onto the water every day. One day, a violent squall came out of nowhere. Elias's boat, which he had pushed beyond its limits in his greed for a bigger catch, was capsized. He found himself in the freezing water, clinging to a piece of wreckage, miles from shore. As he floated there, the vastness of the ocean and the sky above him, his entire perspective shifted. His ambition, his envy, his pride, all of it seemed so utterly small and meaningless. The immediate thought was of survival, but beneath that was a profound stillness. For the first time in his life, his mind was utterly quiet, not through effort, but through the sheer scale of the moment. He was rescued hours later, but he was not the same man. The storm had washed something away. He began to see his thoughts differently. He understood, in his bones, that the mental storms he created were far more dangerous than any weather system. He started to practice, intuitively at first. When a thought of envy for another fisherman's catch arose, he would immediately shift his focus to the beauty of his own boat, the familiar creak of its wood, the way it had faithfully carried him home from that terrible night. That was step one. When a thought of anger at the fish markets for their low prices appeared, he would contemplate the danger. He would see that this anger just made his arms tense as he pulled his nets, that it soured his whole day, that it did nothing to change the market price. Seeing this, the anger would loosen its grip. That was step two. He became a master of his inner world, not by becoming a monk, but by applying these ancient principles to the salt-sprayed reality of his daily life. He was still a fisherman, but he was a peaceful fisherman. He told me, "The sea can be rough, but I no longer bring my own roughness to meet it. I meet it with calm, and the sea, in turn, becomes my teacher." This is the promise of this practice. You don't have to retreat to a cave or a monastery. You can practice right here, in the middle of your life. In the middle of a traffic jam, you can practice. When your child is having a tantrum, you can practice. When you receive a critical email from your boss, you can practice. Every moment of difficulty is an opportunity to reach into your toolkit and choose a skillful response over an unskillful reaction. Let's think about the modern context. Our minds are under assault in ways that were unimaginable in the Buddhist time. We have notifications, alerts, breaking news, social media feeds designed to trigger our emotional centers and keep us scrolling. These are like industrial-strength fertilizers for the weeds in our mental garden. The practice of controlling the mind is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity for survival. It is a form of digital hygiene, a way to protect your inner peace from the constant barrage of information designed to provoke anger, anxiety, and envy. Think about the last time you scrolled through a social media feed. How many posts made you feel a twinge of envy at someone's vacation? How many headlines were designed to make you feel outraged? This is the modern equivalent of a mind rendered in negative emotions. The Buddha's 5 steps are the antidote. When you feel that familiar pull of envy while looking at a friend's carefully curated photos online, that's your cue. Step 1. Consciously shift your attention. Think of something you are genuinely grateful for in your own life. Water that flower of gratitude. If that doesn't work, step 2, contemplate the danger. Ask yourself, is this feeling of envy bringing me any peace? Is it improving my life? See the poison for what it is. Step 3, pay it no mind. Don't click on the profile. Don't read the comments. Just let the thought be a flicker and return your attention to your breath. Step 4, if the envy is persistent, flood your mind with its antidote, sympathetic joy. Think, I am glad they are happy. May their happiness continue. This thought directly contradicts the envious mind and has a powerfully calming effect. This practice is a marathon, not a sprint. It is a gradual training, just as the Buddha said. Do not expect to become a master of your mind overnight. There will be days when the weeds grow faster than the flowers. There will be days when you forget you even have a toolkit. That is perfectly okay. The key is to simply begin again. Every moment of awareness is a fresh start. Every time you notice a negative thought, you have already succeeded. The noticing is the victory. From that moment of noticing, you have a choice. And with practice, your choices will become wiser and wiser. I want to tell you another story about a baker named Clara. Clara woke up at 3 every morning to bake bread for her small shop. Her life was routine and physical labor. She told me that her mind used to be her biggest enemy during those long, quiet hours before dawn. It would fill her with worries about money, regrets about the past, and anxieties about the future. She felt like a prisoner in her own head. One day, she decided to turn her baking into a meditation. She started by simply becoming aware of her hands as they kneaded the dough, the feel of its cool, soft texture, the rhythmic push and pull. When a worry about money appeared, she would notice it, and then gently bring her attention back to the feeling of the dough. That was step 3, paying it no mind. She was the baker, not her thoughts. When a memory of a harsh word from a customer arose, bringing resentment, she would intentionally think about the regular customers who always had a kind smile. She would shift her focus to the wholesome feeling of that appreciation. That was step 1. Over the months, her bakery became known not just for its bread, but for its peaceful atmosphere. Customers commented on how calm she seemed. Clara hadn't changed her circumstances. She still woke at 3. She still worked hard. But she had changed her relationship with her mind. She had transformed her thoughts from a prison into a sanctuary. This is the ultimate goal, to make your mind a place where negative thoughts cannot take root. It is possible. But it requires practice, patience, and gentle persistence. So let's return to where we began. You are here, in this present moment. Perhaps you feel more peaceful now than when you started. Let that feeling be a seed. Carry this toolkit with you. It's just 5 gentle reminders. When a negative thought arises, don't panic. Don't judge. Just smile inwardly and say, an opportunity to practice. Then look at your toolkit. Can I shift to something wholesome? My breath, gratitude, a kind memory. Can I see the danger in this thought? How it disturbs my peace, tightens my body. Can I pay it no mind? Let it be like a cloud passing through a vast sky. Can I relax my thought process? Generate loving kindness to soothe the agitation. And if all else fails, can I meet this thought with steady awareness and firmly declare my freedom? This is the path to making your mind your greatest ally. I'd like to share one final story about a sculptor named Kenji. Kenji was renowned for carving exquisite figures from the most difficult, knotty wood. People brought him gnarled, twisted timber that other carpenters had discarded, and he turned it into breathtaking beauty. A young apprentice asked him, "Master Kenji, how do you see the figure hidden inside such ugly wood?" Kenji smiled. I do not fight the wood. First, I simply look at it. I study its grain, its knots, its cracks. I become aware of its nature. This is like becoming aware of your own mind. See the difficult parts clearly, without judgment. Then, if I see a knot full of anger, I do not chisel it with force. First, I carve something beautiful right next to it, something celebrating patience or kindness. I give attention to the wholesome part. This is like shifting to a wholesome thought. If the knot still seems prominent, I study it carefully. I see its density, its depth. I contemplate its nature and see it is just wood, but its fibers are tighter. I see the disadvantage of forcing it. This is like contemplating the danger. Then for a time, I might ignore that knot. I work on other parts, letting the knot be. I pay it no mind. I focus energy on areas ready to be shaped. This is like paying no mind to the thought. As the rest becomes beautiful, the knot often softens. It becomes part of the whole. Its energy is calmed by the beauty surrounding it. This is like relaxing the thought formation. And finally, when only that stubborn knot remains, I approach with a steady hand and a very sharp chisel. With one or two perfectly aimed, mindful blows, I transform the knot itself. I do not destroy it. I incorporate it. I make it the eye of a dragon, the knuckle of a wise hand. I subdue it with focused awareness and turn its difficulty into unique beauty. The apprentice understood his master was not just talking about wood, but about the human heart. This is our work. Our minds, with their history and habits, are like that gnarled wood. The negative thoughts are the knots. But with patient, loving, and skillful attention, we can transform them. We can carve a masterpiece from our own consciousness. So as we close, I invite you to make a silent promise. Promise you will practice. Not perfectly, but persistently. Promise you will be kind to yourself when you fail. Promise you will celebrate the small victories, the moment you noticed a negative thought before it carried you away, the moment you chose to water a flower instead of a weed. Thank you for spending this time with us at Monk's Temple. May your mind be a place of peace. May your heart be filled with kindness. And may you walk through this world with ease and clarity. Until we speak again, take care of that wonderful mind of yours. Now let me share a story about a watchmaker named Hiro. Hiro lived in a small village nestled between mountains. For 40 years, he had repaired timepieces in his tiny shop filled with the gentle ticking of clocks. His hands were steady, his eyes sharp, and his patience legendary. But Hiro carried a secret burden. Every night, when the last customer left and the shop fell silent, his mind would come alive with a single, recurring thought, the memory of a pocket watch he had broken as an apprentice 50 years earlier. This thought would visit him like an unwelcome guest. It would whisper, "You were careless then. You are still careless now. You don't deserve this shop." Hiro tried everything to escape it. He would stay busy until exhaustion took him. He would drink warm milk before bed. But the thought always returned, as reliable as the sunrise. One evening, an old monk passed through the village and stopped at Hiro's shop to have his worn sandals repaired. While Hiro worked on the sandals, the monk noticed the weight he carried. "Your hands are skilled," the monk said, "but your eyes tell me someone else lives inside you at night." Hiro was startled by the monk's perception. He found himself telling the monk about the thought that haunted him for 50 years. The monk listened without judgment. Then he smiled gently and said, "That thought is like a bell that has been struck once, 50 years ago. But you have been holding it close to your ear ever since, listening to the vibration and believing it is still ringing. The bell stopped long ago. Only your attention keeps the sound alive." Hiro sat in stunned silence. The monk continued, "When the thought comes tonight, do not argue with it. Do not try to understand it. Simply recognize that you are holding an old bell to your ear. Then gently place the bell down and listen to the silence that has always been there, underneath the ringing." That night, Hiro lay in bed waiting for the familiar visitor. It arrived on schedule. The old shame, the familiar story. But this time, Hiro did something different. He saw himself holding that old bell. He saw that the sound he heard was not coming from the bell itself, but from his own act of holding it so close. With a gentle intention, he imagined placing the bell down on the nightstand beside him. And then he listened. Beneath the fading echo of the thought, there was silence. Deep, vast, peaceful silence. The thought came again a few minutes later, softer this time. Again, Hiro gently placed the imaginary bell down. Again, he rested in the silence. Night after night, he practiced. The thought came less and less. And when it did come, it had no power over him. He had learned that he was not his thoughts. He was the one who could choose to hold the bell or place it down. This is the deeper teaching behind all 5 steps. The negative thoughts are not the problem. The problem is our relationship with them. We hold them close. We believe they are us. We believe they are true. But thoughts are just visitors. They arise, they stay for a while, and then they pass away. Our suffering comes not from the thoughts themselves, but from our habit of inviting them to stay, serving them tea, making them comfortable in the home of our mind. There is a beautiful teaching from the Buddha that compares the mind to a clear blue sky. Thoughts are like clouds that pass through this sky. Some clouds are dark and stormy. Some are light and fluffy. But the sky itself remains unchanged by the clouds. It is always there, vast and clear. When we identify with our thoughts, we believe we are the clouds. We become dark and stormy. We forget that we are actually the sky. The practice of controlling the mind is really the practice of remembering that we are the sky. From the perspective of the sky, clouds are not a problem. They come, they go. The sky does not try to push them away. It does not try to hold on to them. It simply allows them to be, while resting in its own vast nature. When you practice the 5 steps, you are practicing returning to the sky. Shifting to wholesome thoughts is like choosing to look at a beautiful white cloud instead of a dark one. Seeing the danger is recognizing that a storm cloud will bring rain and wind. Paying no mind is simply letting the cloud drift by without staring at it. Relaxing the thought formation is like a gentle breeze that helps disperse the clouds. And subduing with awareness is like the sun coming out and burning the clouds away entirely. Each of these steps is a way of remembering your true nature as the sky. None of them are about fighting the clouds. They are about resting in the sky and letting the clouds do what clouds do. I once met a woman who had practiced this for many years. She told me something I have never forgotten. She said, "I used to think my thoughts were facts. Now I know they are just suggestions. And I am free to decline the suggestion." Think about that. How many of your thoughts are you accepting as facts? How many suggestions are you following without question? The angry thought suggests you have been wronged. Do you have to accept that suggestion? The jealous thought suggests someone else's success diminishes you. Is that a fact or just a suggestion? The anxious thought suggests something terrible will happen tomorrow. Is that a certainty or just a proposal your mind is making? When you see thoughts as suggestions rather than facts, an entirely new kind of freedom becomes available. You can simply decline. You can say, "Thank you for your input, but I will not be taking that suggestion today." And then you return to the sky. This is the heart of the Buddhist teaching on the mind. Not to become thoughtless, but to become free in the midst of thought. Not to silence the mind, but to no longer be controlled by it. The thoughts will keep coming. That is what minds do. But you do not have to believe them. You do not have to follow them. You do not have to fight them. You can simply rest as the sky and watch them pass. Let me tell you a story about a river and a rock. There was once a great river that flowed through a wide valley. For centuries, it had carved its path through the landscape, shaping mountains, moving boulders, creating life wherever it went. In the middle of this river stood a single large rock. For generations, the rock had watched the water flow past it. The rock was proud of its position. It believed it was strong because the water always had to go around it. It believed it was important because the river could not move it. One day, the rock noticed something troubling. The water that flowed around it was not fighting. It was not struggling. It was simply flowing. The rock realized that while it sat in one place, unmoving, the water was traveling to the ocean. While the rock remained the same year after year, the water was constantly fresh, constantly moving, constantly alive. The rock became jealous of the water. It wanted to move too. It wanted to see the ocean. But it was too heavy. It was stuck. Years passed. The rock watched the water with growing resentment. Then one day, a great storm came to the valley. The river swelled. The water rose higher than it had in 100 years. The current became powerful beyond anything the rock had ever experienced. For the first time, the rock felt itself shift. It felt the water lifting it, moving it, carrying it. The rock was terrified. It had never moved before. It had always been still. But the water was gentle and persistent. It did not fight the rock. It simply surrounded it and carried it along. The rock traveled for days, weeks, months. It saw parts of the river it had only dreamed about. It saw forests and meadows, villages and cities. It saw the river widen and slow. And finally, one morning, the rock felt something different. The water around it had changed. It was no longer fresh. It was salty. The rock had reached the ocean. The rock rested on the shore, looking out at the vast sea. It understood something profound. All those years it had sat in one place, thinking it was strong because it resisted the flow. But the water was not its enemy. The water was its teacher. The water had shown it that true strength is not about remaining unmoved. True strength is about allowing yourself to be carried by something greater than yourself. This is the nature of our minds. We have thoughts we have held on to for years, decades even. We believe these thoughts define us. We believe we are strong because we hold on to them. We believe letting them go would mean losing ourselves. But the thoughts are not us. They are like that rock in the river. And the river is life itself, constantly flowing, constantly changing. When we hold on to thoughts, we become like the rock, stuck in one place, watching life flow past us. When we learn to let thoughts move through us without clinging, we become like the water itself, constantly fresh, constantly alive, constantly flowing towards something greater. I once met a man named David who had spent 20 years angry at his father. His father had left the family when David was 12. David had carried that anger like a sacred burden. He believed his anger was justified. He believed letting go of it would mean what his father did was acceptable. He held on to that rock with all his strength. One day, a friend asked him a simple question. "If your anger is a rock you are carrying," the friend said, "and carrying it has not changed what your father did, has not brought him back, has not healed your childhood, then who is the rock hurting?" David wanted to argue. He wanted to list all the reasons his anger was justified. But the question had planted a seed. Over the following weeks, he began to examine his anger not as a justified response, but as a burden he was choosing to carry. He saw that the rock was not protecting him. It was weighing him down. It was preventing him from flowing with his own life. He started practicing with small angers first. When someone cut him off in traffic, he noticed the flash of anger, and instead of holding on to it, he imagined placing it down. When a colleague took credit for his work, he noticed the resentment, and instead of nurturing it, he let it flow past him. Slowly, he built the muscle of letting go. After many months, he found himself thinking about his father one evening. The familiar anger arose, but it was weaker now, like a river that had been dammed for too long. He looked at it with curiosity rather than identification. He saw it clearly for the first time, a painful memory wrapped in decades of storytelling. And then, for the first time in 20 years, he let it go. Not because his father deserved forgiveness. Not because what happened was acceptable. But because David deserved peace. He deserved to flow again. The rock did not disappear. It simply became part of the riverbed, no longer carried, no longer clutched. David had learned that holding on to thoughts is a choice. And he had chosen, finally, to put the rock down. This is the freedom available to all of us. Every thought we carry by choice. Every resentment we nurture by choice. Every story we tell ourselves about who we are and what we have suffered, we tell by choice. The past happened. That is not a choice. But carrying it into the present, that is always a choice. The Buddha understood this deeply. He taught that suffering arises from clinging. We cling to thoughts, to memories, to identities, to stories. And because everything changes, clinging always leads to suffering. The way out is not to change the past. The way out is to stop clinging. To put down the rock. To flow with the river. This does not mean we become passive or forgetful. It means we stop carrying what does not need to be carried. It means we stop letting old thoughts poison present moments. It means we become like the water, fresh and alive, always moving toward the ocean. Let me share a story about a woman named Lena who lived in a bustling city. Lena was a successful lawyer. She had a beautiful apartment, a loving partner, and more friends than she could count. By every external measure, her life was full. But Lena carried an emptiness inside that nothing seemed to fill. She would lie awake at night with a vague sense that something was missing, that she was missing, that somewhere along the way she had lost herself. She tried filling the emptiness with accomplishments. She took on more cases, won more trials, collected more awards. The emptiness remained. She tried filling it with possessions. She bought art, designer clothes, a weekend home. The emptiness remained. She tried filling it with relationships. She spent more time with friends, planned elaborate dinners, traveled with her partner. The emptiness remained. It was like a bottomless well inside her. No matter how much she poured in, it stayed empty. One day, a friend invited her to a meditation retreat. Lena laughed at first. She was a lawyer, not a monk. She didn't have time for sitting still and doing nothing. But the emptiness had become so persistent, so painful, that she found herself saying yes just to try something different. The retreat was held in a silent monastery nestled in the hills. For the first 2 days, Lena was miserable. Her mind raced with thoughts about work, about cases she was missing, about emails she should be answering. The silence was deafening. She wanted to leave. But something kept her there. On the 3rd day, a teacher gave a simple instruction. "Stop trying to fill the emptiness," he said. "Just sit with it. Be curious about it. Ask it what it is." Lena thought this was the strangest advice she had ever heard. Everything in her life had been about filling emptiness. Hunger meant eat. Loneliness meant call someone. Boredom meant find entertainment. Emptiness meant acquire something. But now she was being told to just sit with it. So she tried. She sat in the meditation hall, closed her eyes, and turned her attention toward the emptiness itself. At first, it felt like a vast, dark cave. It was uncomfortable. It was scary. But she stayed with it, just observing, just breathing. And then something remarkable happened. As she stopped trying to fill it, the emptiness began to change. It was no longer a void demanding to be filled. It became a space. A vast, open, spacious quality within her. In that space, thoughts could arise and pass without clinging. In that space, feelings could come and go without overwhelming her. In that space, she discovered something she had been searching for her entire life, not more, but enough. Lena realized she had spent decades mistaking her own inner spaciousness for a problem that needed solving. She had been trying to fill a sky with clouds, not understanding that the sky was already complete. The clouds were welcome. They could come and go. But the sky needed nothing from them. This is a profound teaching about the mind. We often experience negative thoughts as problems to be eliminated. We fight them, suppress them, or try to replace them. But sometimes the most skillful response is simply to recognize the space in which they appear. The thought of anger arises. Where does it arise? In the space of awareness. The feeling of jealousy appears. Where does it appear? In the same space. The memory of past pain surfaces. Where does it surface? Right here, in this open, aware space. That space is never harmed by the thoughts that pass through it. The sky is never damaged by the clouds. The ocean is never polluted by the waves. When we identify with the space rather than the thoughts, we discover an unshakable peace. The thoughts keep coming. That is their nature. But we no longer believe we are them. We no longer feel threatened by them. We rest as the space and let them dance. I once heard a teaching that compared the mind to a mirror. A mirror reflects whatever is placed before it. A beautiful face, an ugly face, light, darkness, color, emptiness. The mirror reflects them all equally. But the mirror itself is never changed by what it reflects. It remains clear, untarnished, perfectly itself. After the beautiful face leaves, the mirror does not miss it. After the ugly face leaves, the mirror does not hold a grudge. The mirror is free because it does not cling to any reflection. Our awareness is like that mirror. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, these are all reflections appearing in the mirror of awareness. The mistake we make is that we forget we are the mirror and believe we are the reflections. When an angry reflection appears, we believe we are angry. When a sad reflection appears, we believe we are sad. When a fearful reflection appears, we believe we are afraid. But the mirror remains untouched. The mirror remains peaceful. The mirror remains free. The practice of controlling the mind is really the practice of remembering we are the mirror. Not the reflection. Not the thought. Not the emotion. The mirror. From this perspective, negative thoughts lose their power. They are just visitors passing through. They are just clouds in the sky. They are just waves on the ocean. They are just reflections in the mirror. They come. They go. And you remain. Lena returned from the retreat a different person. She still practiced law. She still had her apartment, her partner, her friends. But she no longer felt empty. She had discovered that she was not the one who needed filling. She was the space in which everything appeared. And that space was already full, already complete, already at peace. So here we are at the end of this long journey together. We have explored the 5 tools the Buddha gave us for working with negative thoughts. Shifting to the wholesome. Seeing the danger. Paying no mind. Relaxing the thought formation. Subduing with awareness. We have walked through stories of fishermen and bakers, sculptors and surgeons, watchmakers and lawyers. We have seen that the mind, with all its storms and struggles, can be tamed not through force but through understanding. The path is simple but not easy. It requires practice. It requires patience. It requires kindness toward yourself when you forget, when you fall back into old patterns, when the weeds grow faster than the flowers. But every moment of awareness is a victory. Every time you notice a negative thought without being consumed by it, you have succeeded. Every time you choose to water a flower instead of a weed, you have grown. The thoughts will keep coming. That is what minds do. But you do not have to believe them. You do not have to follow them. You do not have to fight them. You can simply rest as the sky and watch them pass. You can be the mirror that reflects without clinging. You can be the space that holds without grasping. Thank you for spending this time with us here at Monk's Moon Temple. May the tools we have explored serve you well. May you find peace in the midst of your busy mind. May you discover that you are not your thoughts, but the awareness in which they appear. And may you walk through this world with ease, with clarity, and with a heart full of kindness. Until we meet again, take care of that wonderful mind of yours. It is the only one you have. And it is capable of profound peace.